Shalom, shalom. Peace, peace. Shalom, laha, alahayim. Peace to the gods. Nawathan, Kal, halal yamla, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. Giving all praises to Yahweh in the name Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Double honors unto the elder apostles, the elder bishops, and the head elders of all the camps of Great Millstone GMS who do well. Salutations, peace, and blessings unto the house of David, the predestined spirits of election, song on the governing body in the kingdom to come. The 144,000, 12,000 men, prophets of each tribe of Israel, and the remaining innumerable multitudes scattered through their disobedience unto the four winds of the earth. All right, including that 1/3 here in Babylon the Great that believe on the gospel. This is your brother Tazapanya Banyamyan. Adawan Ratazad. His spiritual commentary, quick hit, is edifying and straight to the point through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushua. So this is Uneducated Economist, and the title of his video is CBDC will be banned. Because you have a lot of politicians that have been talking about your central bank digital currency. You know why? Because the government and these alphabet departments, through these algorithms and AI on the internet that they eventually want to shut down, are keeping tabs on what alternative media and potential outliers of society have to say. You know, because the truth is revealing their devices. Okay, I mean, the scripture does say the wicked shall be revealed, you know, and this is an unrighteous decree trying to give away a currency on a digital blockchain platform that is regulated and centralized through the central banks that they own. Okay, but he's going to give a scenario that is very possible, and I just wanted to warn the body about. So without further ado,
hit the like button. When you hit that like button, the YouTube algorithm will pick up the video and spread it around for more people to join in, and it always makes it more fun when more people are joining in on the comment section of the live stream videos. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the central bank digital currency, the CBDC. And this is something that has been a very popular topic of discussion for quite a few years now, essentially since China introduced their central bank digital currency and other nations are introducing a central bank digital currency. A lot of people figured it was only a matter of time before the Federal Reserve introduced their central bank digital currency. And a lot of talk of like the Fed Now or Fed Coin or, you know, something of that nature. Now, recently, the House passed a bill saying that they will ban any use of central bank digital currency or even the Federal Reserve establishing a central bank digital currency. And I find this to be kind of comical because really, I never thought that the Federal Reserve was really going to set up a central bank digital currency in the fashion that a lot of other people had. Not because I didn't think that the Fed would do it, but because the Fed has been talking about something very different than a central bank digital currency. They're talking about stable coins. Now, something that I found very interesting is before anybody even talked about central bank digital currency, I had brought up the IMF blog article talking about what it was that the central banks would need to do in order to go into negative interest rates. Now, this is the first time that I had seen where the IMF, or at least the idea of the global financial institutions out there, setting up a separate currency, an e-currency is the way they refer to it as. I left the link down in the description to it. Now, they were talking again about this way back in 2019 before anybody else was talking central bank digital currencies or anything like that. Now, if you go and you read through the article, their major concern was the lower bound of zero. Now, this is something that was taking place, you know, from all the quantitative easing prior to, you know, or post the great financial crisis. And then again, we had experienced, you know, zero interest rates again after the pandemic. But the lower bound of zero is very concerning amongst the central bankers out there around the world, as they have no longer have an effective tool for stimulating the economy. And now the idea is that if they took interest rates into negative territory, then the people out there would be unaccepting of this idea. They would run down to the bank. They would pull all their money out in cash, because at least if you have cash, it may not be an interest bearing thing, right? Like you don't get an interest rate off of it. But if it's not in the bank, then at least it wouldn't have a negative interest rate attached to it. So the IMF knew, like, if they go into a negative interest rate, especially when it comes to the bank accounts people hold, they're just going to pull all their cash out, right? And then the banking system would suffer from the consequences of that. So they came up with this proposal to have two currencies.
So he's going to go into these two currencies, but just to explain a little bit with that negative interest rate. Okay, so basically, interest rate, right, is that compounded interest. The Bible speaks about usury, okay, where you add a little extra tax on the back end when you hold the money, Salaki. It's like, for instance, we was young. They taught us you leave money inside the bank account. It accumulates interest over time at, who knows, I don't know, 6% or something like that. So next year, that same amount of money will have the 6% of that amount on top of it. And it's due to the fractional reserve banking, because they don't have the money and they're using your money to do investments and all type of unrighteous dealings in out the world of their agendas of the bank. So they give you that incentive. Oh, give us your money and we'll add interest onto it, compound it. But a negative interest rate will be that it actually is going to depreciate in value as you give it to us. So a negative 6%, you put in $100 is going to be $94 next year, type of thing. So like you said, that is going to be pushed in, or that people don't want to have their money in the bank because it's going to lose value.
Cash and e-currency. So if you deposit your money in the bank, you're going to deposit it in e-currency. If you withdraw your money, you can withdraw it in cash.
And that's kind of how they started with right now. You deposit your money in the bank, you check your app, it's just numbers on an app. All right, but technically it's not a how would you say, a complete difference yet. And that's what they want to do under that guise, because if too much eyes is on the central bank digital currency thing, it may not work for them. Okay,
it would be two of them, two separate types of currency. And now the idea behind it is that at first it wouldn't make any difference. Nobody would even be able to tell the difference between these two. But if there was a separation from it, meaning that e-currency is different from folding cash currency, the paper currency, then what you can do is you can have a regulation that then says if you deposit or withdraw cash, you will be charged a fee, making it a nuisance to use cash. So when you go down to the store and say, no, I don't want to use e-currency, I'm backing away from the whole idea, I don't want to be part of the central bank digital currency type of thing at all, I'm not doing it, right? The store will be like, yeah, that's fine, we'll take cash, but we're going to charge you a fee for that because we get charged a fee to take the cash down to the bank and deposit it in the bank. And so now this is the way that they can get people out of the use of cash and move them into the e-currency. Right? Once they are moved into an e-currency and they have no other choice, right, but to be in the banking system, now they can attach a negative interest rate to those bank accounts and take rates down into negative territory. And now, again, this is what the IMF was making or coming up for a suggestion on what it is to do once the central banking systems have hit the lower bound of zero. Right? This was the whole point. All the
So no, it's Hegelian dialectic. So the International Monetary Fund has already put out reports when this monopoly game is starting to come to a close and the chickens are coming home to roost, so to speak, dealing with this debt-backed fiat currency, okay, and things are starting to go haywire, then they're going to enact this type of um, agenda where they're going to push a cashless society, because that's essentially what he's doing, what he's saying. Because if you want to use cash and you want to put it in our banks, it's going to be a fee. So instead of doing that, you're going to want to just to get paid in that e-currency or cryptocurrency or digital currency, which is going to have that understanding of what we now understand as such a big digital currency, but it's not going to have that name because too many people know about the what's the name? How do you I'll think of it, but CBDC. Okay. So it's going to be called another thing. And he's basically saying with these stable coins, and I'm gonna get the definition of stable coins in a minute. All right. And what he's not going to bring up, but even though he's talked about it, I feel like it's going to be involved with UBI, of course, because if you're not getting paid in cash or direct deposit through the old system, the new system, these stable coins is going to be regulated, okay, by the ISO 222 coins that they already set up, and they'll pay you through it. And whether you work or not, you'll get that free money, and it's going to come with a price.
Tracing, control, all that other stuff. Yeah, that's a big scary part of the central bank digital currency, but that is fear mongering. That is not the intent of what it is that they are trying to do. If they create a currency that is that kind of nuisance, if they create one that is not free flowing, if they create one that is surveilling, if they create one that is going to be problematic for the people will find other ways of doing transactions. They do not want to do that. They want people to widely accept it, to accept it as if it was cash, accept it with confidence, accept it with security. That's what they want for an e-currency, because anything else would fail, right? They have to have the competency, like that's a word. They have to have the competence in order to, I make up words, by the way. They have, in order to create the situation in which that people would be willing to use it. And
no, but notice he used confidence, hence the word a con man, a con game. You're getting conned. Con meaning what? Confidence. A con man persuades you to have confidence in him, that you're trusting that this transaction is going to be righteous and upheld in a pure manner. You see? So yeah, they want that so-called e-currency and the people to accept it widely because they have confidence in them. And how they do it is make it all hell around you. You see?
They don't recognize it as two different currencies, cash and e-currency, then it will work. The moment that people recognize it as two different currencies, then they will have a problem.
So notice, when you don't recognize something, that means what? You're confused. Hence the deceive. Okay? So they're gonna deceive. This is why it says, be not deceived. You see what I'm saying? For we are not ignorant of Satan's devices, man. So we have to be able to watch everything that's going on in the financial sector. And just to add on what Elder Apostle Tahar say, in the Levant region, okay, because we're occupied in prophecies, Ecclesiasticus 38:1.
Right? Because one will be better than the other. Gresham's law will kick in, and the bad money will chase out the good. So the important part about the whole e-currency is to make sure that people do not see it any other way. They see it as either as cash, or they see it as like a deposit in the bank, but they don't see it as a separate currency as far as like a digital currency and an e-currency or in a cash currency. That's the important part to establish. Over time, they will recognize it because the cash will become a nuisance and it'll have a fee, attached to it. So I don't.
And they kind of tried to do that with the e-naira in Nigeria, where they put a fee on how much cash you withdrew from the ATM, and it kind of went haywire. But remember, it's all Hegelian dialectic, and when you read the Behold the Pale Horse, it talks about um, how they measure um, the people in the environment and how they react through stress tests, like you would do in actual real mechanics of materials, but they do it on a financial, spiritual, mental, psychological type way throughout the people of the world. All right, with certain crises. Okay, so then they optimize it and then they bring it back out again.
Believe that the Federal Reserve is actually looking to have a central bank digital currency. I think that that would be very problematic when it comes to congressional applications to it, because really it takes an act of Congress in order to change the currency. And when it comes to the Federal Reserve, they cannot literally print up money and inject it into the system. A lot of people are confused by that. They think that's the case, but it's not. The Federal Reserve has to go through the purchases of particular assets, being treasuries, mortgage-backed securities, gold. They have to have these assets to buy, which is a problem for the government to be able to produce enough assets for the Federal Reserve to buy so that they can print up all this money to inject it into the system and have, like, enough liquidity for everybody to participate in. Now, this is, again, this is a very difficult thing to kind of wrap your head around what's going to actually happen into the future. But when it comes to the Federal Reserve and the establishment of a digital currency, I do not believe the central bank digital currency is in their mind. I believe stable coins are.
So now that he said that, I'm going to go on Investopedia, and this is the definition of stable coins. Okay, those that have working knowledge on crypto, they already know what it is. All right, but this is says, what are stable coins? Stable coins are cryptocurrencies whose value is pegged or tied to that of another currency, commodity, or financial instrument. Stable coins aim to provide an alternative to the high volatility of the most popular cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, which has made crypto investments less suitable for common transactions. Key takeaways. Stablecoins are cryptocurrencies that attempt to peg their market value to some external reference. Stablecoins are more useful than more volatile cryptocurrencies as a medium of exchange. Stablecoins may be pegged to a currency like the US dollar or to the price of a commodity such as gold, which is funny because all of that is manipulated anyway, the gold prices and the US dollar. All right. It says stablecoins pursue price stability by maintaining reserve assets as collateral or through algorithmic formulas that are supposed to control supply. Stablecoins continue to come under scrutiny by regulators given the rapid growth of the 128 billion market and its potential to affect the broader financial system. Okay, so let's continue.
And now the reason why stable coins would be more in the view of what it is that the Federal Reserve would want is because they're already in progress of being used, right? The progression through the stable coins where a digital currency is backed by a dollar 1-to-1, right? That is already at play. Like, they don't have to develop it. It's here. It's being used, right? So now the Federal Reserve already has something like a central bank digital currency. It's not a central bank digital currency. It's their already existing currency that is being backed, or that is backing a digital currency. Very close to what a central bank digital currency would be. Now, here's the interesting thing about it, right? Is that if a stable coin is being used and it's being backed by the dollar 1-to-1, any kind of monetary policy that is being conducted through the Federal Reserve into the dollar itself would then transfer into that stable coin. They already have the central bank digital currency, right?
You see, so and that's deep. Hopefully don't go over your heads. The scriptures do say wisdom is too high for a fool, but um like you said, the Federal Reserve can do monetary policy that's going to affect the dollar, but if the dollar is pegged to a digital currency, okay, like a stable coin, all right, it is tethered to it, that means that anything that happens to the regular dollar is going to happen to the digital equivalent. Hence, the Federal Reserve has all power to that stable coin, because all they have to do is third party it, so to speak. The medium of exchange to affect its policies is that dollar. You see? So they do anything to make the cash transactions tighter is going to make the equivalent of the digital currency tighter. So it doesn't have to be necessarily, oh, this is a currency, we're a central bank, and this is what we're giving you. You see what I'm saying? So this deception and these possibilities and scenarios that's coming out to play as we enter into the MOTB is, we got to be aware of it. Okay. What's the name? It was a scripture I had in my head that I was going to roughly paraphrase. It says that for we know in part and we prophesy in part. You see, so we know the prophecies, but how exactly the Most High is going to work to bring these prophecies to pass, we could speculate spiritually. You see what I'm saying? But we still do know the prophecies. Hence, the MOTB, which is the RFID hit. All right.
The dollar. All they needed was the digital component of it, the stable coin. Okay? And so now this is something that the Federal Reserve has been talking about. They have talked about regulating the stable coins in order to conduct their monetary policy. This makes so much more sense to me when it comes to what it is that the Federal Reserve is going to do, as opposed to the central bank digital currency that everybody is saying, no, we can't have this. They're going to block this. This is going to be, total control, this other stuff. Yeah, all that stuff exists, but guess what? It's still going to exist because they got the stable coins. Right? Now all they have to do is just regulate that particular market, and it's up and running. All they have to do is conduct themselves the way they normally would, right? And that monetary policy would then transfer into the stable coins itself. So this is important to remember, because really the whole idea behind the digital currency to begin with is to go into negative territory. So as of right now, we're not necessarily worried about the Fed funds rates going negative or having negative interest rates on our accounts or interest rates or mortgages or anything else out there. We're not quite at that position yet. But come the next serious downturn in the economy, whether it's from war or financial crisis or pandemic type of issues, there's going to come a time in the future in which that the Federal Reserve is going to have to lower the interest rates in an attempt to stimulate the economy. The dropping of interest rates is no longer an effective tool because they cannot get far enough below the neutral interest rate, which is the interest rate that's neither accommodating nor restricting the economy. And because the Fed cannot drop the Fed funds rate far enough below the neutral interest rate without hitting the lower bound of zero, dropping of interest rates is no longer an effective tool unless you can get into negative territory. So the whole idea of dropping interest rates to stimulate the economy doesn't work. It's not even going to be part of the concept. Okay? The idea of it, the idea of it does work, right? Because that puts people into a position in their lives and their decisions and what it is that they're doing out there every day in the economy as if it actually happened. It's that job owning, that forward guidance, that credible threat of guiding the markets into a belief that they are going to be lowering interest rates that actually does the work of the Federal Reserve in the lowering of interest rates, but they don't actually do it. If they wanted to stimulate the economy with the dropping of interest rates, they have to take it into negative territory. And if they go into negative territory, they have to get cash out of the system. And if they're going to get cash out of the system, they have to have something in its place already being used. And stable coins are it.
You see? So that's it right there. I'm gonna read a quick scripture. I'm gonna play maybe about a minute more, and then we're out of here. This is Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 12, a part of the Old Testament, verse 10. It says, "Never trust thine enemy. So like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away." So when you get all these talks about stimulus packages, universal basic income, basically, giving away money, wiping college debt, stimulating the economy, giving more jobs, this and that and the third. When you look behind it all, it's all of a part of this agenda, like he said, knowing that the economy is getting worse and worse because of all of the wickedness and unrighteous dealings that they have been doing for decades now, all right, under their world reserve currency status, okay? And the only way to fix that is to go into negative interest rates. But in order to go into negative interest rates, you got to lower the interest rates. But that's not going to work until they go into negative interest rates. And then when they do that, you have to get rid of cash. All right. And in order to get rid of cash, you have to have something that will replace it, which would be a pegged or tethered currency that is one-to-one with that same cash. So people don't think that it's something different. They think it's the same thing, just on the computer. You see? So his rust, whose rust? Esau's Edom, which is symbolic for his wickedness. Okay? Just like metal oxidizes in the air, and it rusts away over time. Over time, the wickedness is being revealed more and more to who the devil that the Bible speaks of, which is Esau, Edom. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's continue.
I mean, it's like, in my opinion, the reason why is because of the use that they're already doing, and because the Federal Reserve has already stated we need to regulate these particular things. It totally makes sense. Like, the Fed doesn't have to do anything differently than what they are doing now. They don't have to create anything. They don't have to change anything about what they're doing. They just let the stable coins and the regulations do the work. All right. Thank you very much for the $5.
All right, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to continue reading verse 12. It says, set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. You see, so constantly putting Esau next to you, he's trying to take your birthright, man. He's trying to be in the place of the chosen seed. All right, he's trying to overthrow you Israelites, you so-called Neo-Latino Native Americans. It says, neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. You see, so you got to move very wisely, especially in this truth. And this could refer to pretty much anybody, especially these agents and people of that nature who is trying to pseudo be a part of this ministry. Verse 13, it says, who will pity a charmer? See, if you wanna dance with the devil, so to speak, right? That's a charmer. All right, those that play with snakes with the little flute, like you see in the old movies and Disney movies and all that. It says that is bitten with a serpent or any such as come nigh wild beasts. You see, so we all know that serpent. It goes back to basically Esau, Edom in the book of Revelation. All right, that has constructed this Roman Empire. All right, this and then look, come nigh wild beasts. You see, who is the most subtle amongst the beasts of the field? These are the nations, metaphorically, that it's speaking about. Because in Ecclesiastes, Solomon basically says that if you don't have this wisdom, roughly paraphrasing, you are a beast and not a man. Okay, you're given unto your carnal impulses. Verse 14, it says, so one that goeth to a sinner, in this case, the man of sin, Esau, Edom, and is defiled with him, taking that chip, right, in his sins, because it is a sin to take the chip. It says, who will pity? You see, because the prophets have been out here saying that you take that chip, it's over for you, man. You're going to get cast into the lake of fire, which is symbolic for these missiles coming to completely destroy America. Verse 15, for a while he will abide with thee, right? So yeah, you'll be a part of the system for a while you take it. But it says, but if thou begin to fall, let's say you get sick, right? Because remember, you take the chip, you're gonna get a grievous and noisome sword, ulcer, cancer, all right, through the electromagnetic frequency radiation that is emitted through this device that's inside you. It says he will not tarry. You see what I'm saying? He's not going to wait to leave you. He's going you're going to be even X'd out anyway. That's why they say they can turn it on, turn it off, so on and so forth. You are undesirable. They're not going to help you, man. You know, and to prove it, there's other nations with free healthcare, but in America you got to pay for that shit. You see what I'm saying? Get insurance, have credit, so on and so forth. So what makes you think that they're going to try to take care of some sickly, disposable person when they are getting closer and closer to enacting that new world order, man? Okay, they not, man. They just going to let you die, all right? And is you either going to, die by that cancer, die by the lake of... I think the Most High is going to make you torment, you feel me, with that cancer until you get nuked. All right, but I'm gonna leave it at that. 30 minutes, camp later on. So Lord willing, I don't want to write this out. I was edifying to the elect. I'm gonna do another video, Lord willing. Okay, that was edifying. Straight to the point. On to the next one. Shalom. Possible scenario, stable coins. Research that.